energy forecast for Saturday, January 6th. So today we have the moon in Scorpio all day. So we're definitely in our inner realm. We are trying to refine our emotions. We're trying to unearth the blockages, the challenges, the heavy parts that are blocking us from actually moving forward. That Scorpio energy is the detective energy of the zodiac, so we have no problem flipping tables, unearthing the blockages, the illusions, if you will, in order to figure out what lies below the surface. Again, we do shadow work when the moon is in Scorpio, and we're looking for a major change, a major transformation in our inner realm. The change has to happen within us first and foremost before it's going to happen in our physical realm. So this is going to be a day that we are definitely going to kind of peel back the layers, so to speak, see what we can find, see what we can unearth, see if we can kind of discover a couple of missing puzzle pieces, snap those babies together and reveal a greater, grander picture on our passions, on our desires, where we have to pour our time, energy, and attention into these particular new elements so that we can bring something new to life that will be around for the long term. Of course, we're still very much in Capricorn season, so we are thinking long term, especially when it comes to short-term sacrifice for long-term gains. So there are 9 different aspects taking place here today. 8 of them are going to involve the moon. The moon in Scorpio going to make a very positive interaction with Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money, who happens to be in Sagittarius energy, really pushing the boundaries of her comfort zone, really on an exploration, a discovery, if you will, where the change of heart has taken place, where new values and priorities are now kind of being restructured in our lives. And due to that, realizing where it is that we have to open up our heart, open up our head to making some changes in our physical realm that, of course, will allow us to move further into our futuristic plans with a lot more freedom, a lot more independence. This is a deep dive in our emotions, in our psyche, in our true passions and desires on what it is that we want for ourselves to create more happiness, more joy, more pleasure in our day-to-day life, where it is that we have to build something a little bit stronger in our lives, especially with certain relationship dynamics, so that we feel safe, we feel secure, we feel stable. This is an aha moment, a realization on what it is that our heart, our soul is wanting, is needing, is desiring, and deserving of. The moon is then going to interact with Neptune in his place of power in this Pisces energy. We get some water on water action here, but it's not the greatest interaction, which means that this is going to be emotional, it's going to be intuitive, it's going to be spiritual in nature. We are in our inner realms, and this may actually put us in a situation, in a circumstance where we're a little bit confused on how to bring forth the wants, needs, and desires that we just realized that we actually have for ourselves. Things could get a little bit confusing, a little bit vague, a little bit wish-washy with this particular, we'll call it interaction, because of the water energies. Sometimes it's hard to see when you have your eyeballs open under the water. Yeah, you have a good kind of, I'm going to say, impression on what is in front of you, but the details are kind of foggy, kind of blurry. We are definitely piecing things together, but we are having to listen to our intuition right now, first and foremost. The sun in Capricorn energy, squaring off with Chiron, the wounded healer, who happens to be in Aries energy, helping us out with this new identity that we are locking in, this new version of self that we are exploring. This particular energy is definitely going to bring us down a couple of pegs. Our confidence, not the greatest. We are sitting more in the fears, the doubts, the insecurities than anything else. We are sitting in a place of indecision, which of course doesn't make us feel safe, secure, and stable at all. We are doubting our intuition. We feel like the path in which our heart and soul is asking us to walk at this point feels like we are entering into a war zone. We don't know what to expect, and the hesitation, the resistance that we actually have in moving forward at this particular point in time is kind of triggering a lot of paranoia within us. We're really testing our faith. The dip in confidence definitely not helping anyone out at this particular point in time. And the moon in Scorpio goes ahead and interacts with Chiron there shortly thereafter, which is definitely pushing us into the shadow realm of our thoughts, of our emotions, of our experiences. And so coming out of the sun squaring Chiron and then the moon interacting with Chiron in such a way that is going to illuminate for us what the problem actually is, although it doesn't feel good to sit in the funk, to sit in the darkness, to sit in the fear, the doubts, the insecurities, it is going to provide us with a realization on where it is that we can override this particular narrative, override these particular emotions with a little bit of a pep talk, a little bit of a confidence boost. Now, it's not going to happen right away, but around the point in time that we find ourselves kind of down in the dumps, really beating down on ourselves, bullying ourselves, if you will, sitting in those fear, that victim mentality type of situation, all of a sudden, the moon in Scorpio is going to sextile, beautiful interaction with the sun in Capricorn energy. We love this because this is like boss up energy. This is like, you know what? I'm tired of kind of living in this narrative. I'm tired of feeling like this. I'm tired of constantly beating myself down, not feeling good enough to actually move forward. I'm tired of that. So I'm just going to boss up. I'm going to flip the switch. I'm going to flip the narrative. I'm going to flip the emotions. I am going to use the fear, the doubt, the insecurity, the uncertainty of the path that I'm about to walk. I'm going to use that as a fuel, as inspiration, as motivation for me to get my shit together and actually tempt, if you will, and again, we're not trying to ask for problems here, but tempt the universe to throw things at me, to show me how strong I actually am, to show myself in the universe that I can overcome all of these challenges because I've been through worse. Again, we talked about this the other day. We're having a hard time right now. It's like, poor me. Like, what am I going to do? I don't want to do this anymore. And then realizing that compared to some of the hardships that you've already experienced and overcome in your life, this is actually a cakewalk. But we have to kind of get in that mind frame again. And so we sat in the darkness. We're coming out of the darkness now. We're seeing an element of growth. We're seeing an element of an inner transformation into this boss up energy that we need to be in order to take the power back, to take the control back over this darker narrative, these darker feelings that, of course, got triggered earlier by the sun squaring Chiron and then the moon interacting with Chiron in a very not so favorable way. So the moon and the sun kind of working together here. We are having a new realization and a new awareness. This is the shift in our inner realm that's going to pluck us out of that dark pit. And we are on the rise, climbing out of this dark hole and definitely ready for the challenges that we know that we are about to face. The moon is then going to semi-square Mars. So Mars is the god of war, ruling over physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desires, even our anger. He's now in Capricorn energy. We just shifted into this Capricorn energy on the 4th. It's been a very low, slow process. It feels like we're about 500 pounds trying to run underwater. We're getting nowhere fast. And so, we do take on this serious, somber type of mood and attitude in Capricorn energy before we actually reach that boss up attitude, that mood that we need to get in. So Mars rules over the Scorpio energy that the moon is in. So this is always going to be a little bit more of an intense interaction. And what we're finding with the semi-square that is trying to create tension and conflict within us is showing us where it is that we are kind of frustrated. We're a little bit angry. We're a little bit agitated right now because of the slow moving process. We thought we were coming into this new year ready to hit the ground running. Of course, that is just a delusion that we kind of get conditioned to believe. This is not the new year. This is the time of death, of endings, of decay. Okay, Capricorn season, we don't bring anything to life. This is a time of visualization on our long-term plans, our long-term goals. But the frustration, the restlessness that we're currently experiencing, especially because Mars, in this Capricorn energy just wants to boss up, take action, make moves to set us up for the long term. We're not there yet. And the moon in Scorpio is trying to pump the brakes on Mars to say, hey, listen, again, if you go ahead and you start kind of making moves and taking action out in the world without a well strategized, calculated plan, you're going to be wasting time, you're going to be wasting energy, and you're likely going to be creating a mess that we're going to have to go back and clean up before we actually get the green light go ahead to start building towards something that we're currently trying to piece together in our heart space, in our head space. So this is definitely going to bring out the anger and frustration, but use this as a framework. You only get angry and frustrated over the things that you actually care about. So take a good look at what is triggering you. Take a good look at where you're kind of feeling this agitation building. Yes, it's because we lack patience, but it's also because we're highly inspired and motivated right now to make a change that we're not gifted with the green light go ahead to actually initiate in our physical realm. Again, there's some inner work that needs to be done before we're going to see those particular aspects manifest in our outer realm. The moon in Scorpio is going to make a positive interaction with Pluto. Pluto rules over the Scorpio energy. So again, we have two different aspects taking place with the rulers of the Scorpio energy that the moon is in. Now, again, the semi-square with Mars was not favorable, but it is illuminating for us where it is that we are passionate, borderline angered, that we have a plan, a path that we want to take action upon, initiate, but we don't realize, our higher self realizes, that we haven't thought it out thoroughly enough. We haven't thought of the variables. We haven't thought of the potential consequences of taking the actions without this plan being well thought out, revised, re-edited, very much perfected before we go ahead and actually take action upon the things that we're visualizing in the here and now. Well, this positive interaction with Pluto, the great transformer himself in Capricorn energy, is going to be very intense, emotionally speaking, but you want to talk about a boss up mood and attitude. We are getting laser focused, if you will, on what it is that we want to move closer to and on the aspects within ourselves that is preventing us from actually feeling confident enough to do whatever needs to be done to get from where it is that we're at to where it is that we desire to be. What we like about this energy is that it has a great potential for us to examine the actual programming and conditioning in our psyche that has us in this not so successful looping narrative that, again, the dark force and agenda wants to keep us in so that we're not growing, we're not evolving, we're not pushing the boundaries of what is possible for us, that we kind of, find ourselves in this defeated state and just decide to settle. That's what the dark force entities want from us. That's not what we're going to do, but that's what they're attempting to do. And of course, the moon interacting with Pluto in this way is illuminating that particular, let's call it loop, that narrative, that looping emotion, that deceptive type of pattern in our inner realm. Once you become aware of it, you can flip the script on it. And of course, because of this Plutonian energy, this is power. This is control. This is us building ourselves up to a point that the dark force entities don't want us to be at. So this is very liberating. It is very freeing. It's very empowering. We love this for us. Now, the moon in Scorpio going to sit across from, directly oppose Uranus. So Uranus is the great awakener, still retrograde in this Taurus energy, definitely highlighting for us where it is that we're holding on to the old, where it is that we're resistant to making some of the changes that we know that we need to make in our physical realm. But what this is going to kind of do for us is it makes us, very uneasy emotionally. We could experience anxiety. We could experience a little bit of nervousness. B, we are very, I'm going to say, overwhelmed and feeling a little bit angered with the changes that we feel the universe or other people are pushing on us before we actually feel in alignment to make those changes. So however that manifests for you, maybe you're just feeling societal pressure, maybe you're feeling pressure within your relationships to make some changes, maybe at your job, whatever the case may be, we are just feeling the tension because there is an external pressure wanting us to change faster than we feel comfortable in changing. And so we're not feeling so good with that. Now, we have to keep ourselves open for some unexpected events or some disruption to our plans or some wild card energies coming out of nowheres with this Uranian energy. However, it would likely kind of spark or pop off through some kind of relationship dynamic. So again, we're kind of feeling the external pressure crushing us to change before we're ready to. And because of this, we are going to be pressurized and put in a situation and a circumstance to see the situation, the circumstance, and the people involved with this added pressure from a different perspective. And it may not be favorable to us. It may be like, oh, okay, I see this person's true colors. Oh, okay, I see now that this person's trying to manipulate me or the situation or the circumstance. There is an awareness here that there is some kind of shadiness, let's say, going on in situations and circumstances that we just aren't down with, right? And in Scorpio energy, the minute that we feel like somebody else is trying to have power over us, we get defensive, we close up, and even more than that, we get petty and vindictive. And we want to show them that we cannot be controlled, which really brings out a rebellious attitude within us. So this could definitely put us in a pressurized situation to see things a little bit differently, good, bad, or otherwise. That, of course, is going to make us have an epiphany, make us have an aha moment, change the mood and attitude accordingly. The last thing that we have going on here today is the moon in Scorpio, making a tough aspect and interaction with the North Node in Aries. So the North Node in Aries is trying to get us on the right path in order to reach our next mission, our next point of potential, if you will. And the Aries energy is about us kind of being a little bit more independent, initiating a new chapter where we are on a solo adventure because we're putting our own selves back at the top of the list. What we want, what we need, what we desire, what we deserve should be at the top of the list because, of course, that South Node in Libran energy is teaching us a tough love karmic lesson right now on where it is that we've given our power away too much and too often to other people. We allow other people's thoughts, opinions to influence us so greatly that we derail our own soul's path, our own soul's mission in order to make other people happy. Well, of course, the North Node in Aries energy is doing all that they can in order to help us break away from these codependent relationships. These, I'm going to say, too intertwined, too attached type of relationship dynamics so that we can figure out who it is that we are without these connections, without these attachments. And when we do that, root, ground, anchor into this new version of self, identifying the wants, the needs, the desires of this new version of self, and the mission, the purpose, the quest that we now have to kind of pursue in order to bring our own wants, needs, and desires to life. So the moon interacting with the North Node in Aries right now is very skeptical. We're really, again, kind of feeding off of that earlier interaction where we're starting to see the external pressures from other people either wanting control over us or wanting to manipulate us in a situation, in a circumstance, pushing us to grow and transform before we're ready to. Now we're feeding off of that and we're realizing, why have I given my power away to these people so many times? Why do I feel like I have to make these people happy when it's a pure realization in this moment that they do not have my best interests at heart? They have their own interests at heart. You know, when we realize that there's external forces trying to manipulate us into doing what is best for them, suddenly we're like, well, why have I been pouring so much time and energy? Why do I have so many F's to give about this person when they clearly don't see that what they want me to do is not the best thing for me to be doing, right? So when we have these realizations, suddenly it's an aha moment where we can work on detaching ourselves from these particular relationship dynamics so that we don't feel bad in actually putting ourselves first, our new wants, new needs, new desires, our new values first before everybody else's. And of course, for many of us, we've been in people-pleasing mode for so freaking long that it feels like we're the bad guy, actually, you know, enforcing boundaries in order for us to do what is right by us, for us. We feel like that we're the bad guy for doing that. We're not the bad guy, okay? We have to be very anchored, rooted in to our own energy, to this new version of self, and start doing right by us first and foremost.